The Doomer is a variation of the Wojak character that is typically characterized as an early 20s male who suffers from depression while simultaneously having a bleak outlook on everything in the world in general. While there are 500 million different Wojak examples, today we're going to specifically take a look at the Doomer girl, and whether or not we find them fresh, normie, spicy, and most importantly, whether or not this meme passes the vibe check. I'm SumitoMedia, and you're watching Meme Critique. So the premise of this meme is twofold, mainly due to the fact that we're actually looking at two specific different memes here between the Doomer and the Doomer girl. Now the Doomer, I already explained in the intro, was originally found in 2018 on a 4chan board, obviously, with all the rest of these rage comic MS Paint style memes that we use nowadays. Now, the Doomer is relatable, at least to me specifically. A nihilistic outlook on life in general is a very easy thing to relate to during times of the coronavirus and economic collapse and the inability to buy houses and student loans and what have you. The fact that I'm the same age as this dude is probably no coincidence. I imagine that a lot of you guys in your mid, early, late 20s are probably relating to some of the things that the Doomer is expressing. The Doomer girl, however, only really came to notoriety in early 2020. And not only does Doomer Girl relate to a couple of the same things that the Doomer does, but she also has this unique style of just responding to whatever the Doomer tells her with the word "what." Not in a condescending way, but almost in a satire to make you think about what it is that you just said. The Doomer might say something like, "Hey, have you seen Scott Pilgrim vs. the World?" Or "What do you think of Rick and Morty?" Or some other thing that an early to mid-20s male might bring up in conversation to a girl, and the girl's just kind of, "What? I didn't hear you. Let's move on. Let's not talk about whatever it is you just mentioned." And sort of a, I don't know, it's still very Doomer-esque, but almost in a self-aware kind of way. And the way that the Doomer and the Doomerette, as some idiots put it, just call her Doomer Girl, it rolls off the tongue better, sort of bounce off of each other. One is a meme, one is the anti-meme making fun of the meme, and yet they're used together. I think it's quite beautiful. Let's see if it's fresh. Is it fresh? Has it overstayed its welcome, or has it overwelcomed its stay? The question becomes whether or not this meme is something that is shareable. If it's something that you can send to somebody and they wouldn't think, "Oh, this is a meme from a decade ago." Obviously, the Doomer girl gets a little bit of a pass here because she first came in 2020, but the Doomer has been around for at least 2.5 years at this point, so it begs the question, is it still relevant? Is it still something that you can find some humor in? And in my opinion, the question is a resounding yes. Never so much has it been a meme that I can relate to so personally. Some of the aspects that they put onto the Doomer, the fact that, you know, like it's not that he doesn't care about stuff, right? He does care about stuff, right? But he just accepts the fact that he can't do anything about his surrounding economic crisis, political situation, school, housing, infrastructure, corona, money, family, whatever it is. His bleak outlook is not a personality trait. It's a response to his crumbling environment around him. And the fact that this meme has come back into the resurgence of the meme culture thanks to, you know, in the lore, the Doomer meeting the Doomer girl, who does resonate some of the same meme aspects, but also provides her own satirical downplay. She's like the other half of the meme that makes fun of the first half of the meme. She is still a Doomer, right? She is still a little bit upset with her selection of males that are fawning for her attention and, you know, her situations as it is and her taste in music and what have you. But sometimes they do get along. And it's a beautiful little his and her meme that's like, hey, this is what relationships can be like. But an equal number of times, it's a fallacy. It's a surface level interaction that doesn't have any deeper meaning to it, much like a lot of the relationships that people engage in modern times as it is. Altogether, I think this speaks volumes about my generation, my experience with life, my outlook on the world. I think it's as relevant as ever. And as a result, I'm giving it a 10. This is as 10 as it gets. It's very fresh. I don't ever see this meme pop up on my timeline and hate the thing, and I don't think you would either. I strongly recommend you guys check out a bunch of these things. I think you will legitimately enjoy the sort of narcissistic appreciation of the nihilistic outlook that this meme brings to the table. Is it normie? Basically the downsides to this meme. What is it that I don't like about this thing? What is it that I think could be improved about this thing? I think it's tough to call this meme normie because it is a Wojak. Wojaks that get this specific are usually pretty isolated to places like 4chan and Twitter, and then once they become a little bit mainstream, they'll leak into Reddit. But you'll almost never see memes like this in mass exodus be pushed out into places like Instagram or like your buddy showing them to you in iMessage, unless you're, really with the meme culture in that sense, unless you guys already really know what you're talking about. Aside from general norminess, though, I do think there are a couple downsides to it. The heavy depression and heavy nihilism that gets expressed by these two characters can be a little bit much. I mean, sometimes, the key flavor of depression that surrounds the Doomer is generally his surroundings, as I said, stuff that he cannot control. So having depression about stuff that's like not getting out of bed, not having a job, not having a girlfriend, that isn't, that's like, you could remedy those things. You could make movements towards making those better, so they don't necessarily suit the Doomer all that well. Things like school not really feeling like a place that he should be in, not feeling creatively fulfilled, feeling like his days just disappear, music doesn't feel as surreal as it did before. That stuff is relevant, but I feel like the depression gets played up a little bit too much. I think also the introduction of the Doomer girl, even though it really only exists on Twitter in most situations, also gets normified a bit in the, she's got like a sort of, emo goth aesthetic to her, just a little bit, with the choker and the blush and the dark eyes, and as a result, people use her as just where can I find a girlfriend like this? Or you'll never find a girlfriend like this, and that's why she only responds with what, and doesn't, respond to you showing her new music or showing off your room, or she's just pretending to like you, sort of thing. And I feel like it makes her kind of a bitchy character, which she can be. I mean, there's no real lore here. There's no strict guidelines about what these memes can and cannot be used like, but I feel like certain ones feel a little bit forced. And I feel like the bitchiness of the Doomer girl and the overly depressed narcissism of the Doomer can be played up a little bit too much. But again, even still, it's really only in the deepest recesses of the meme culture. It's not like your grandma showing you these memes and you're getting mad that it's gotten so popular or anything. So as a result, I'm giving this thing a 7 out of 10 on the normie scale. I think it's definitely got some faults, but I think enough people are keeping it above float that most of the examples that I see are funny. But I can see this disappearing in a week because people are getting sick of it because of some of the examples that pop up. Is it spicy? Typically, this is the point in the video where I take a look at some of the fancier examples of the meme that we're taking a look at. Take a look at some of the animated examples. Take a look at some Evangelion edits. Take a look at, like the nicest versions of this meme and see if there are some fresh, new, modern, intricate takes on the thing. But the scoring system has failed me entirely because it's completely arbitrary, and there aren't, it's a Wojak. You stick text on a funny image that you might alter a little bit, and that's about it. So the spiciness here isn't so much the intricacy of the meme, how much of a video, how animated this thing can get on 10-minute long YouTube videos or something. I think instead the spiciness of this meme becomes just how much commentary it can provide in the true-to-life situations that it's trying to evoke the emotion out of. It's basically what I've been talking about this entire video. This meme isn't spicy in the traditional sense. You're not going to take a look at pretty much any version of this meme and go, yo, that's crazy, that's wild, I gotta share this meme. Not in that sense. But a lot of the examples that you see of this meme are going to hit home. They're going to hit you right in the chest. You're going to read through some of these lines. If you're my age and you're feeling the way that this dude's feeling, home stuck all day, feeling like work goes on forever and ever, your goals just get pushed farther and farther away, even though you feel like you're working towards them every day, this thing hits home, man. This thing hits home. And I think the fact that that's evoked in so many examples of this meme, the dissonance portrayed by the Doomer girl, the resounding no that she's giving you, even though she's saying yes, just says so much about life and culture at this exact moment in time. I think it's the perfect meme for our existence on the internet amplified due to the fact that we've, sort of retreated from our existence in real life because of, the pandemic and what have you. So I don't think it's perfect. I don't think it ever can be perfect because it's not, it's not crazy enough to get its own TV show. There's not going to be a whole example that you're going to see PewDiePie do on it because it is still very, very niche. But I think in its own right, it is spicy in a very special, personal way to me. But I understand that if you're not in the age demographic, if you don't feel this way, if you don't have this nihilistic sort of rage against life in general, that's sort of portrayed by this guy, you might not resonate with it the way that I do. So I'm gonna give this a 6. I kind of want to give it a middle of the road because I feel like a lot of people aren't gonna really resonate with this thing the way that Doomers quote unquote would. But I think it's got some spice to it. I think when it hits, it really hits. And if it doesn't hit, you're just scrolling by it. So 6 out of 10. Sounds right. My final thoughts on this meme. At the end of the day, it is just another Wojak meme. The doomer is just to come from the consumer, the boomer, the coomer, the dozens of other examples that you have with Wojak memes. It's running its course at the moment. So, at the end of the day, you could say that the score is going to be artificially high because I'm taking a look at this thing at sort of the height of its popularity. But I would argue that the doomer meme, the doomer guy and the doomer girl have sort of become the face of doomerism, if that's a way to put it, the millennial mindset. At the end of the day, people who create Wojaks in and of themselves are an expression of the self, right? So the fact that this meme has become as popular as it has means that a lot of people are resonating with what this meme represents, which is at this point nihilism, depression, a bleak outlook on life as it is. I think the combination of this thing alongside the doomer girl is refreshing and also bittersweet. Sometimes she's nice and it's a nice little story of a doomer guy finding a doomer girl, and sometimes she's mean and not understanding of the things that you might be excited about. And while that's a pro, while that's a con, at the end of the day, that is life. Life is bittersweet. Life is pros, life is cons, and I think in that, this meme finds a lot of truth in how we see the world. I don't think it's something you should just scoff off like, oh, it's just you being sad. I think it is a really true to life expression that a lot of people resonate with. For that reason, on the vibe check, I'm going to give it an 18. I feel like if this meme were more popular, it would get a much lower score because a lot of people would be using it improperly. But because it isn't super popular, most of the examples are used very well, and they're used very clear-cut alongside the doomer guy's guidelines and the doomer girl's guidelines. And, it hasn't been normified to death yet. Anyway, we'll see if that hangs true after that. So that gives this thing a total score of 39 out of 50. 41 out of 50. That's pretty solid. That's a low B, and I think that's where this meme should sit. I think for some people it's going to be a lot higher. I think for some people it's going to be a lot lower. But with this completely objective / arbitrary rating system, I feel like it lands exactly where you would expect this thing to land. So that's what I got on the doomer guy / doomer girl. If you guys have a recommendation for what meme I should critique next, please leave it down in the comments. And as always, I will catch you guys on the next episode. Peace.